Tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te moana, tuia ki te whenua, karongo o te pō, karongo o te ao, tihei mauri ora. Kia ora no tātou ka taitoa, kia tukuna atu tō tātou karakia, nā te mea he whakapainga te huarahi ki mua i a tātou i tēnei ahi pō, nō reira ka taitoa. Kia ora everybody, I'm just going to get us started with a karakia for our proceedings this evening, to get us off to a good start and have good, safe conversations. Nō reira, ka tohi a tātou ki te karakia. Ko te atua tō tātou piringa ka puta kaora pai māriri. I o nuku a, i o rangi tapu maira, ko te ihi, ko te wehi, ko te tapu, ko te mano ngā atua. E ke maira i ngā uri whakatupu o tēnā mauri o tēnā wairua. Kia ho maira ko te tika, ko te pono, e whitikina maira ki te pūrangi aho ki te whaiao ki te ao mārama, whāno, haramai te mauri, haumi e, hui e, tāi ki e. Kia ora no tātai.
Tēnā koe eri, tūpirati e te hui nei e te karakia, ngā mihi. Tihe Māori ora, tēnei au ko te ore o manu, ko te aitanga ātiki, he matakahi, he mānuka, he kāhika, i ahu mai i te kohanga tapu ātia. I te whare o te mānuka, i te whare kura o manu kapua. Tēnei au te hotu nei hoka i au ai, whana āringa, hikoi a te petū, hikoi a te marama, kei te whaiao, kei te ao marama e. Whano, haramai te toki. Haumi e, hui e, tāi ki e. E te manuhiri tuārangi, e ngā tangata he tamaki, nau mai, haere mai. Ko mahuhu, ko manga ke tō maunga, ko waitemata te moana, ko mahuhu ki te rangi tō waka. Ko ngāti whātua te iwi, ko ngā o, te tau, te erungotu, ngā hapu. Ko tumutumu whenua, taku whare, ko rākei tō mara. Nau mai, haram mai. Welcome to one and all, to an auspicious occasion, to prompt partai on behalf of those in the partnership with Eke Pānuku, Toi Waihanga, the project working group for the Mana Whenua Forum within Te Ara Tukutuku. We hope the conversation is one, as we would say, e kai te rangitia. So with your pātai, in our conversation, he tau te rangamārie, and their courtesy respected to one and all. On behalf of Eke Pānuku, and all the wonderful intellectual, technical advisors that you will be guided through with your questions and the conversation to generate for the greater people of Auckland. So once again, welcome to one and all. E aha te hau e wawara mai, e tiu he rā ki nāna, ia mai te pūputara ki uta, e tiki ngā atu e hau, te kotu, ko ia te pau whakairo ka tū ki wai te mata, i oku wairangi e. Tēnā koutou.
Ki tēnei motu kotahitanga, te kotahitanga, o ngā hau e whā, ngā waka e maha, hoia mai rā. Well, I thought that would ease my anxiety, but it didn't work. Tēnā tātou katoa, nau mai, haere mai, e tikana ngā mihi ki a koe e Edna e eri nau te karakia, te whakamāhana tia, te huihuinga nei. Kia koe hoki e te tuakana nei te mihi, tēnā koe. Ko wai au, ko wai tēnei wahine, he uri tēnei no Tāmaki Makaurau no Ngāti Pāo Ngāti Whanaunga. Good evening everyone, welcome. I wanted to acknowledge both Eddie and Mervyn for their karakia and for Merv's mihi to open our session today. So, my name is Lucy Tukua. I am the Regenerative Outcomes Director for Mott MacDonald, but more importantly, I'm part of the Toi Waihanga design team led by Land Lab, and I will be facilitating, just asking the questions really and helping the conversations tick along. So again, tēnā tātou katoa. So Auckland Conversations provide an opportunity to inspire and stimulate your thinking about the challenges and opportunities facing Tāmaki Makaurau. Tonight we will explore Te Ara Tukutuku, and together we will learn how mātauranga Māori and regenerative practices are being woven together to heal this former industrial area on Wynyard Kora. Just over there. She's listening. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a fantastic turnout. I also just want to acknowledge those that are online. Tēnā koutou. And welcome. Oh, yes, jumped the gun there. Cool. So just a few housekeeping notes. Bathrooms are located on the western side of the venue, next to the escalator entry to each floor. No smoking or vaping inside the venue or balconies. Guests can smoke outside in Karanga Plaza, away from the centre. There are first aid kits located on the main floor at the reception desk, the service lift and staging area, and a portable kit in level 2 office. So just see any of the venue staff if you require assistance. The defibrillator, let's say it together, no, is located at the reception desk. See, I haven't needed to use it, that's why I don't know how to say it. In case of an emergency evacuation, please assemble in Karanga Plaza, south end of the venue. And finally, could you please turn all mobiles to silent, but leave them on so you can post on social media, those young ones, or ask questions via Slido, which I will explain shortly. Okay, so just got to get through this part, right? Event format and scene setting, so the order of events. The format for tonight will be a panel discussion between Eke Pānuku, Mana Whenua partners and Toi Waihanga. We will then move to Q&A session where you, the audience, will have the opportunity to ask questions and hear from our speakers. Remember that we have a limited amount of time to get through everything. No, not Māori time, people. So keep your questions to the point, and if you would like to direct them to a specific member on the panel, please add this to your question. There's also an opportunity on there to vote if you like that particular one, and if it gets 10 likes, then it's likely that it'll get asked. We will be using Slido, which is an interactive Q&A tool for audience questions. If you have a smartphone, we encourage you to visit slido.com, enter the event code, #waterfront, and ask your questions virtually. We will get through as many as time allows, and you can submit your questions at any time during the evening. If you're unable to get onto Slido for any reason, like myself, because of my age, please head to the back of the room and someone from the team will help you put your questions through. Okay, a couple of more bullet points. Please remember that you must ask a question, not make a statement. Otherwise, it's not going to come to me, right? We always try to ensure that the Auckland Conversations events are inclusive and accessible. On-demand viewing of the event, A full transcript and captioning of the event will be available on the Auckland Conversations website in the next few days. So, in terms of scene setting, some of the questions, I guess in whakaaro thoughts, is around what is regenerative practice and how have we been able to manifest that within this development. When I think about regenerative practice, it's about taking a whole systems approach to how we heal, nurture, and ensure that the whole system is on that trajectory. We think about the way in which Te Ara Tukutuku, Wynyard Kora, was reclaimed. The journey now is to declaim. To think about the way in which we might heal this place from the industrial uses that have impacted not only the whenua, but also the moana, the leachates, the paru, the Dawdy pipe, if you know what that is. And so I encourage you to think wide, think deep, and think beyond, because that's what we are here to do. Ki uta, ki tai, ki tua. Nō reira, that's my 2 cents worth at the moment, and if I could please bring our panel members onto the stage. Fiona Knox, Priority Location Director, City Centre Major Projects, Eke Panuku. Martin Simoni, Mana Whenua Working Group Representative. Henry Crothers, Landscape Architect and Urban Designer, Design Director, Land Lab. Thank you, sorry. Charmaine Bailey, Founder and Director of Uru Whakaaro. Caleb Clark, Director at Morphim Environmental. Check one. So if I could hand it over to the panel members to share a bit more information about themselves, their background and role in the project, and in particular what you're passionate about. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Lucy. I will do that. Is that all right? Yeah, you're good. Before I start, I just wanted to acknowledge ngā mihi to Iri for the karakia, for keeping us safe in this session today, and ngā mihi Mervyn for your mihi mihi. And thank you, Lucy, for doing your job tonight. Kia ora. Ko Fiona Knox toku ingoa. I'm the Priority Location Director for City Centre Major Projects, very long job title, at Eke Panuku. My job is to really oversee the regeneration of Wynyard Quarter, West Haven. We do work in the viaduct and also leading on the work around the Central Wharves master plan as well. So I work with a wonderful team that helps us develop strategy and turn that strategy into action on the waterfront. So all of the things, oh hi Bridget, all of the things you see out there, that's all work from the Eke Panuku team and all of our wonderful consultants that also help us do our work. So that's segueing over to you, Henry.
Ooh, which one?
Oh, you've already got one. Okay.
Is this one? Oh, yeah, there we go. we didn't rehearse this.
Yeah.
Kia ora koutou, ko Henry Crothers toku ingoa. I'm the Design Director at Land Lab. We're landscape architects. I probably should just talk a little bit about what Toi Waihanga is, which is our design consortium. So just a shout out to our partners at Scape, at Becker, at Mott McDonald, Fresh Concept, Warren Mahoney, and our mana whenua specialist Jared Walker from Tātaki, Charmaine and Caleb from Uru Whakaro and Forum, who are on stage with us now. So that's our team working collaboratively with Iki Panuku and mana whenua on this project. I guess for me, what I'm passionate about in a way is this place, and I was lucky enough to do some work down here and have been doing work for Iki Panuku since 2003, and so it's been a real privilege to watch this precinct emerge and change over time. And I think Panuku's already kind of set an example for how to run projects like this for Auckland and for New Zealand, and I think this project takes that leadership to the next level. So it's a really exciting time and a privilege to be part of the team.
Tēnā koe Henry. A tēnā tātou katoa. Te tuatai ka mihaki ki a koe eri mō tō karo ki a tīmatanga. He mihi tēnei ki a koe o tira ki a koe hoki i Mervyn o tō mihi ki a tātou. Nō reira tēnā kūrua. Tēnā kūrua. Good evening everyone. My name is Martin Timoni. I affiliate to Ngāti Whanau and I'm part of the mana whenua working group. My background is not like my colleagues here. I've got an education background and my passion is around te reo Māori in the homes and in schools, being part of that community and that school and homes. I have a real passion around promoting continuously the planting of native trees and plants anywhere and everywhere. I have a passion around regeneration, making places enhance the mauri or the life force in that space. And I'm just really proud to be part of the team to look at ways of making that happen in this space. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Charmaine Bailey, and everyone here is so much on a journey that I've been on together with them and has made me who I am. So it's a privilege to sit here with this group that's extended out across the audience. We act and work and move in a journey as one, but I would just want to step back and also acknowledge Eri and Merv for creating a space in which we can do this mahi at this moment, and acknowledge, as I said, on the journey that I've been on, and as an ecologist, as a practicing, as a taiao practitioner, has been because I've been privileged to work on the whenua of mana whenua for many, many years. And so my experience and knowledge comes from the privilege that they've allowed me to grow and connect with their children, with their rangatahi, with their rākau, and in all of those spaces. So my practice very much has, because of the privilege that I've been given on behalf of mana whenua to work alongside them. On this project, I'm a technical specialist, a toki, and I bring with me all of that collective learning that they've afforded me, and being able to apply it, especially in the terrestrial ecology space. So, kia ora.
Kia ora, Sha.
Kia ora, Sha. Ko Caleb Clark taka ingoa. Nā mihi iri mō tō karakia. Nā mihi moving mō tō mihi. Yeah, I'm a resident of Tāmaki Makaurau my whole life. I grew up in both Greyland and Aotea, Great Barrier Island, and I think it was pretty glorious upbringing, and I connected with the urban concrete jungle, as well as connecting to the jewels of the Hauraki Gulf. So that gave me a foot in both camps in terms of loving the city for its development and its buzz, and also its natural assets in the Hauraki Gulf. And yeah, 25 years as an environmental engineer. I'm a director at Morpham Environmental, and an engineer focusing on water and environment with a focus on systems. But also new to getting my head around Te Ao Māori, and honoured to work as an advisor with the Mana Whenua Working Group in Toi Wahanga to be across that mahi of making sense of both of these things, my tauranga and science and engineering. Thank you.
Ai, kia ora, Caleb. So, ki te hoi. Can you all say that? Ki te hoi. 1, 2, 3. Ki te hoi. Let's take up the challenge, call to action, and this is what our conversation is about, how we can help you to help us help Te Ara Tukutuku. So we'll get on with this kōrero, with this little wānanga here. So if I can ask both Fiona and Henry to come up, and they will provide a bit more context around the kaupapa.
Just missing the clicker. Someone got it? Ashley, you got the clicker somewhere? I'll set off. Kia ora. Just while we're waiting for the clicker, which has mysteriously disappeared somewhere. No? If you could, someone can. Oh, there we go. Thanks so much. Welcome everybody. We're delighted to have you here. We hope you enjoy listening to the presentation and the discussion. Looking forward to having a chat with you. Just wanted to set the scene a little bit in terms of the process to date. We very much are standing on the shoulders of other agencies and people that have come before us in terms of the policy work, the planning work, the decisions that have been made through different legacy agencies over the time. Believe it or not, in 2005 the first vision was created by old colleagues at through the Regional Council and Auckland City Council. That was the 2005 vision. So 20 years on, we're getting to really revisit and talk about this special place, and we're hopeful that we do that kind of first process proud. So 2005 was the first vision. That was also then followed up by other documentation, including the urban design framework, the Wynyard Plan in terms of the district plan work that was undertaken, that set the land use framework for the area. From there we also had other processes. Auckland City Council did a city centre master plan that was tested again through consultation for the Auckland Waterfront Plan, again recognising all the work that went on through Waterfront Auckland at the time. That was tested again through the City Centre Master Plan. So we've had lots of tests in terms of how this place has come to be, how the 50-50 split between the parkland and the development site has come about. So we're pretty confident now that we're leading into more detailed design, that's kind of the basis for our work. In 2021, this is where Te Ara Tukutuku and our work at Eki Pānuku with the Mana Whenua Forum kind of took it to another level. We worked with Mana Whenua to co-design and co-write the Te Ara Tukutuku plan, which set the basis for the work that you see and will hear about today. That plan was adopted by Eki Pānuku Board in 2021. And that led us on to the vision and framework work through our Toi Wahanga colleagues as well. So long journey in terms of thinking and doing and creating and testing. A heap of technical work went into to that as well in terms of all the documentation that we could use to put into a submission for the MPSUD. So heaps of technical work, heaps of creative work, heaps of thinking, heaps of strategy. So we're very confident that where we're now is the place that we're going to be and continue our journey. journey. We are currently in the concept design phase. We drafted the concept design, and these are some of the images that you'll see today. And 20 years on from that 2005 document, in February next year, we'll be starting enabling works on the site. So pretty magnificent, and I think we're all pretty proud to be the ones kind of standing in front of the project and alongside each other as we start to work on the site next year. From that stage, we'll also be doing some developed and detailed design, some consenting, and then major construction. So whilst we're still in this kind of stage that we're at, we still do have a long way to go. And hence the importance of you being here, you being on the journey with us as the project takes shape. Just specifically about our Te Ara Tukutuku journey itself, as I mentioned, we co-wrote, Mana Whenua co-wrote the Te Ara Tukutuku plan with us. A very specific document that was created from Mana Whenua was Mauri Tukituku, which it's a cultural framework, a cultural indicator for the project, and I think Martin will be able to talk to that shortly. We've had lots of technical inputs and lots of more specific inputs into that document as well, which has led us to this concept phase. We've had lots of engagement with key stakeholders, with our Auckland Council CCOs, and we will continue to do that engagement throughout the process. So like I mentioned, we're at a specific stage today, but plenty more mahi to do. We're also conscious that while we're talking about Te Ara Tukutuku and the specific place north of Wynyard Quarter, that we are part of the city centre context, that we are part of the city centre system, and how we connect back to the city centre. So hugely important, all of the thinking that we've done for space and place is reflective of where we're sitting in the centre, in the city centre, and as part of Te Waitemata. So, just reminding you about the project before I hand over to Henry to speak to some of the specifics. This is going to be the first inner city park that has been generated for Auckland in over 100 years. So we feel the weight of that in terms of our responsibility for the project, but we're also very excited in terms of what we can deliver collectively with our Mana Whenua partners. You'll hear today about Mauri Tukituku. You'll hear about how our co-design process is helping us on our journey, and we hope that you enjoy listening to our stories. And that's it from me. I'll hand over to Henry now. Big green button.
Thanks, Fiona. This is not a design presentation. I'm just going to run through a few slides and just provide a little bit of context to the discussion. It'd be a long evening if we were going to try and summarise the last 2 years of mahi into a presentation. Maybe this is for you, Martin, to talk about actually. We've got the
Hello? Kia ora. Te Ara Tukutuku. And the Mauri Tukutuku? Kia ora.
A place of plenty.
Right, place. One of the, I guess, what I'd like to share is this. The thing that is important to Mana Whenua is the original coastline. That is our significance and our cultural significance. And so this shows what our coastline looked like prior to any developments. And it was a place where we could get food and shellfish, fish, and it was a cupboard. It was a cupboard for everyone. And I guess when Tāmaki Makaurau was formed and the first sort of the wharf was put in place, I think, unfortunately, mana whenua didn't necessarily have a say in how things would be. And so things were done in this space that, and our belief was this, that, you know, you rely on the sky, the earth, to take care of us. But we have to take care of it. And we have to take care by ensuring that we take care of the land, we take care of the streams, we take care of the moana. And so the significance of this particular, the first drawing was to show that that is what we think is the main part of it. Now the development that just showed up there, yeah, Henry, was part of the building of Tāmaki Makaurau and part of that seawood, a place for landing. But as a result of that, a lot of the things that we nurtured and we wanted were lost and were depleted. And so I guess with Te Ara Tukutuku, and I just really want to sort of be very short in this part, is that with Te Ara Tukutuku, what we are wanting is not to put things on top of a poison place, a place that has been poisoned, but we want to regenerate it so that it becomes healthy. And it becomes a place where on land, birds and other fauna and flora can grow. And in the marine area, we can bring back those species that have been long gone. And so that's the challenge for all of us. And we're just looking, as Fiona was saying, we're looking for you to help us put this back together in a place where things can thrive. Our marine life, our terrestrial life, and our animals that are there as well. So, look, just very quickly, Te Ara Tukutuku is a metaphor for the binding of the land, the water and the sea together, and to help us take care of it, but also for that place to take care of us. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Ai, kia ora. Ki te hoi, eh? Ki te hoi.
Ki te hoi. That is our challenge. Nami.
Kia ora. Thanks for that. Sorry for that little hiccup there. Lucy's just told me two things. One is to talk quickly, and the other one is not to muck it up. So I can do the first one. And this is normally her slide, but she's got the mic. But I guess the strategy perhaps provides a bit of this slide provides a bit of a framework for our kind of collective journey from Māori 2 and the state of this site at the moment, which is, you know, real poor quality. It's really sick. And our journey to Māori Ora, which is the horizontal line across there, acknowledging the nested systems of the site, Te Ara Tukutuku of Te Waitemata and Tāmaki Makaurau wrapped around that, and the intersection of land, water and people, whenua, wai and tangata at the centre. And I guess really our kind of approach to this project always comes back to this idea of ahu whenua, ahu wai and ahu tangata. And so we've kind of distilled our kind of thinking into those three things. Land is about symbolically re-establishing this lost headland, as Martin said, and I think if there's one thing that I'd like some people to remember from tonight is that, you know, that's why we're doing this. We took these spaces away, and this is our opportunity to give one back. And it's an opportunity to establish a new cultural landscape as well as a working one. We acknowledge that the site sits in the realm of Tangaroa, and a key part of this project is improving our water quality and our marine habitat. And only then, when we've done that, as Martin has said, can we bring people back once we've healed the site and re-established the Māori. Our process, sort of 3 stages to our process, and you can read more about this on the website and download the design report. Tamati te Māori, te heal, te tara, te tarai, to form, and te putakawa, to cultivate. And I guess our sort of conversations have been around how we establish a process for thinking about and designing this project over time. So we've got to restore the Māori and the well-being beforehand. We've got to remove the contamination and transition from a landscape of extraction to one of abundance. We then, through form, give shape and identity to this new space and establish new landscape systems and programs within that. And once we've done that, we can cultivate these new ecologies and experiences and spaces. We acknowledge that this will be a process that happens over time, and so we talk about now, soon and eventually on this project. The first phases, as Fiona talked about, are really about getting ready to build the project. The second phase will be about doing the big work to re-establish this headland and the coastal resilience, seawall enhancement and a delivery in stages of packages of work. And then once we've done that, we can complete the project, the planting, the built form, the community and cultural assets, and these new ecologies of land, water and people. We've got a narrative building on the Te Ara Tukutuku narrative, Kei Te Hoi, which provides a framework of spatial framework for the spaces that sit within the project. And I'm going to talk to these just really quickly, and again you can find some more information out about that on the website and online. But we start with our connection back to land, to Kakao, the linear open space, which is an extension of Doherty Street and a connection back to the original foreshore along the eastern edge of the headland. Te Whararoa, the streets and lanes within the headland that support the future development. Te Tinana, the plaza space, which will be the focal point for kind of gathering and cultural facilities and cultural experiences and community experiences. Te Rapa, the headland park, the main body of the space. Te Unga, Jellicoe Harbour, and revitalising the space behind us as a vibrant part of the waterfront. And then a series of interventions around the edge of the space. Te Mata, the marine restoration zone, which is established through the partial removal of Wynyard Wharf. Putakawa, the coastal walkway around the northern part of the site. And Te Awhiowhio, the coves, which is an opportunity to connect with the inner harbour landscape on the western side of the site. So hopefully that just provides a little bit of context to the discussion, and we'll move on.
Thank you. Check one. Kapai. Thank you, Henry. Thank you for that. Homaite Pakipaki. Paki number 2. Thank you so much. So this is the part where I get to ask the panel members some questions, and I know you're busting to ask some questions, not make statements, right? So if you want to use Slido, go right ahead. Thank you. So my first question is to Martin. So Martin, can you talk to us about, actually, could you just talk to us about the name and just acknowledge the name, please?
Tēnā koe. Well, Te Ara Tukutuku was a name that was gifted by Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, and it was about the waka ramps. And the significance of the waka ramps is when they come up to the shore. It was a way of sort of landing the waka onto the shore. And in this particular case, it's also a metaphor to describe a place where waka can land. And so Te Ara Tukutuku is that space, is the name of that space. And
That's great.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so many beautiful narratives, and just acknowledge, all the many waka, the diversity within the room, and the coming together to support this place. Tēnā koe, Martin. So your question is, what's changed over time, and why have our aspirations for this space changed? Fiona and Henry might be able to help you too if you need. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Fiona gave a really good description of when things started to be planned. And as we were moving through with mana whenua, we thought of some grand things that could probably go into those spaces once the petrol and all that stuff was removed. But one of the thing that really got us all was about, if we build something on the top, why should we build it over something that's contaminated? And what can we do to heal the space? So as a team with Toi Waihanga, Mana Whenua and Ike Panuku, we thought about what could we do to do that. And so we needed things to work on, the space in the marine space, the space in the terrestrial space, and we need to get the experts that could help us regenerate that space before we did anything else. And so that was part of the Te Tāmata Māori, to heal the space. And we're on that journey now. But one of the things that we also have realised is that we can't do it on our own. We need to have champions to help us to return, to increase the mauri of the land, the sea, so that it becomes alive again. And so I think the thing that has changed is our thinking around that space. What should go in this space? What should we do in this space? How do we regenerate this space? And so we have people on the panel, but also people that are sitting in the audience that have all helped to put together a plan to help regenerate the space in the marine area and the terrestrial area, to help it better for us in the long term. And the things that I think that we're really looking forward to is to teaching our rangatahi the sorts of things that we've started for them to carry on. And so, kia ora.
And if I just pick up on that, thank you, Martin, is that in terms of this work, we recognise at Ike Panuku that it's as much about, and what's changed probably from what was envisaged in 2005, is that this work is as much as about process as it is about the product. We're not in these kind of bad old days anymore where we're saying, oh, we've done this work, what do you think about it, mana whenua? This is very much speaking from a co-design place, speaking from a place of partnership. One of the innovations, I think we would all like to say, and probably have lots of examples, that what we are doing is probably, I would say, definitely Tāmaki first, but most likely Aotearoa first. In terms of what you'll see today and what you'll hear today. Things like mana whenua being part of the procurement process for Toi Waihanga. We went through quite a big range of inviting all the design expertise in to help us on our journey. Mana whenua was sitting next to us. So there's definitely been an evolution of how we work together, our partnership and understanding of each other, which is different from the beautiful pictures in the plans. It's that process-led mahi as well. So just adding that in as my 2 cents worth.
Kia ora, thank you. Let's skip along to the next pātai, and that is for the lovely Caleb. What are the specific development challenges of this site, Caleb?
Kia ora, Lucy. For me, the site is really interesting, I guess from a historical perspective, as Tāmaki Makaurau, as Martin said, was a rich place. The shimmering waters of Te Waitemata, an amazing place. And then Auckland was started, and a city was born, and this part of the city, over to the west side, was probably, I think it was referred to as the wrong side of Queen Street. I was from Grey Lynn, so in the 70s and 80s in Grey Lynn felt a little bit wrong side of the tracks, but apparently these catchments here was where the sort of heavy industry came, and there was many sawmills, many boat builders, there was tanneries, there was smelters, there was morgue, and most notably there was a huge furnace at Victoria Park that burnt all the rubbish for the city, the Destructor, and then there was also the gasworks. And so the original shoreline was right back in the start of Victoria Park, and the waters that flowed down there were encased and brought through this reclamation, and all of those industries would be discharging wastewater overflows and also generating solid waste. And that solid waste was incorporated into the landfill as the reclamation progressed. And so most notably the gasworks, they'd unload barges of coal at the wharf on Te Ara Tukutuku, take the carts up the hill, make gas from the
Hang on,
coal.
Siri's got something to say.
All good.
We're good? Kia ora, carry on.
And take gas from the coal and then get rid of the waste, the slag, with the same carts back down to the waterfront and bury it on the site. So it's very contaminated. It's got petrochemical compounds, it's got dioxins, it's got heavy metals, and it's all mixed in a bag. And so that's a great challenge. It's also obviously surrounded by water, so if you're going to restore ecology, you've got all these challenges from that. You've got Tangaroa trying to gnaw it back from the sea, so there's coastal erosion, sea level rise, and there's also exposure to salt and wind, and at the moment it's a blank flat site, so that it all whistles through there and it bakes in the sun. And but also there's opportunity there because it's visible. It's our waterfront. It's right surrounded by water. If you stand on the end, you're surrounded 270 degrees by water. And interestingly, there's no template there of what to restore. In Western engineering, if we're restoring, we look at what was there before, while it was the sea floor. The stream is 20 metres below sea, and when the last ice age 10,000 years ago was present, it used to drain out and had a river under the site, but there's nothing there now, and so we can look to the headlands that were demolished to do those reclamations. We can look to the catchment landward of the Tunamo and the Waikuta streams as a template for that restoration. And so therefore, whilst it's a challenging site, it's a blank canvas, and if we hold that goal to uplift the Māori, then, and for me as a Pākehā engineer, Māori is the life force and everything. It's also the integrity, and it's also the interrelationship. So if we hold all of that and we uplift it, then we can take examples from everywhere. We can look at the coastal reefs of Te Waitemata, and we can look at the valleys and catchments that we have, and we can go big with that. So a challenge, but also an opportunity.
Awesome. Ki te hoi, bro? That's the one. Tēnā koe. Thank you for that. My next question is to Charmaine. How is the recreation of an ecology shaped by the regenerative approach? Kia ora.
Kia ora. I think there is no other approach to putting an ecology back into a space in which we can all be connected to. And you said it before, regeneration is a whole systems approach. So the first thing we need to do, and you just said we didn't have the terrestrial ecology in that space, but it was next door, and we saw that from the maps that were up on the screen before. So one of the first steps was, let's go have a look. Let's go and see where the signatures are, what remains today, and just research, look, gather, touch, feel, heal, just to do all of those things you need to go and smell the site. So we looked at places such as Waimanua over on the North Shore and in the broadleaf coastal ecology there, and to see all the different layers and interactions between those spaces. We went out to Peretu, and many people know it as Rangitoto, and looked at the Pūtakawa coastlines. And so really just going and looking at what was and what's possible with that potential of what mana whenua and what this whole team is looking for, a healthy space that brings in all of the elements together. And so in that way, regenerative practice is the only way to restore the site, to bring in all of the elements together. And we've done it with a lot of people, and it's really interesting, some of the people I keep seeing in this room who work in that way as well. So I think we're in really good hands for the site to actually be able to draw together learned experiences. And regenerative practice takes in all of that. It's all of the learnings, the innovation, the way the wind blows, what we've got, the potential, and layering it over time. As time is a really critical part of regenerative practice. We can't all do it tomorrow. We need to put in it in the steps that it will take, and in the right order. And some of those steps, there will be a step back, and that's acceptable as long as we keep focused on what the kaupapa is for that site, and that's the positive impact that we can all make towards the mauri of that site. So there's the hill face. Yeah.
I'll be quick. I think one of the things you'll notice is that we're not talking about this project as a park. It's a space, and then the space is a headland, and a headland has a whole range of ecologies. And so this project, is the same. It will have not just ecology, but ecologies of land and water and people, and they all come together, and they're kind of held, by this landscape. And I think that's what's, and the landscape acknowledges those wider systems of Te Waitemata, and for someone who's been doing quite a lot of work on the waterfront over the first few years, over the last few years, this is the first project where we've talked about the whole harbour. And it's really challenging sometimes having some of these conversations, because it's when does it stop, because the scope becomes everything. But it's also, it's powerful as well when all of these things come together from as a landscape architect, and and from mana whenua, there's a real power and kind of strength in the alignment we have around all these different ecologies and how they come together on this project.
Awesome, thank you. And just coming back to Caleb, how is the infrastructure shaped by the regenerative approach? And I think about, the sharing in terms of the healing. It's not a Band-Aid, So if you can share with us, how is the infrastructure shaped by the regenerative approach? Kia ora.
Kia ora. And just before I talk to that, I'd just acknowledge James Ring from Becca, who's sort of lead civil engineer on this, and him and Phil have thought deeply about these issues, and also Dr. Jared Walker, who's he's a marine ecologist working in the space, and he's got his hand across the opportunity for the marine. But really, I think the regenerative approach and bringing Mātauranga and the partnership with the mana whenua working group and all the designers with their science and designing and kind of I guess modern in a global kind of way of thinking. There's some points of difference to me that really jump out, and it's you're not moving forward to try and comply with some rules. You're trying to create the biggest opportunities. So moving beyond compliance. And number one, and mentioned Mauri tuku framework, and the number one non-negotiable in that is that the contamination has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with on site. We can't take it to a landfill somewhere. It's got to heal itself, and then we can move forward. So with the contamination, initially there has to be obviously there's been a lot of work from the previous leaseholders, the petrochemical people, to clean up their mess in the top layers as best as they can. But a lot of the other deeper stuff, it took decades to fill in, and it would take decades to move it out. So we have to lock it up and make it a permanent safe place. And so it's going to involve putting in a breathing layer, so long term the oxygen can continue to degrade, the bacteria can continue to get at those contaminants, because that's the bioremediation that happens. But then there's an impervious layer, so the water's not going to wash in and wash it into the harbour. But also most of the movement happens when the tide goes up and down and goes in and out, and so there's an approach to do an in-ground mudcrete wall, which goes 15 metres deep to the original sediments, stops the tide flushing those contaminants in and out, but also doubles as the prevention of liquefaction, so this whole place wouldn't slide into the ocean if we had earthquakes, and also aids the realignment of the coastal interface. And so also long term, that's got an opportunity with that capped cell of contamination to take the groundwater up and process it in the park, because decades and centuries into the future we're still going to be dealing with those issues from centuries before, but it's a long game. So obviously the marine edge is important. I think the opportunity of working with such a big project, with such a non-negotiable approach, that we can't just let it go and we can't just deal with it the same as we have before, because then we'll end up with a place that doesn't have Māori in it. So that means we can't say, oh, the water's too dirty, the coasts are too dirty, we won't get enough species recolonising, so we'll just leave it as a seawall. That's not going to work on this project. So that gives us a requirement to move forward, and then we can innovate. And I know there's lots of innovation going on in Tāmaki Makaurau around, ocean-sensitive design, and people realising that we've got to enhance the coastline if we're going to connect to it. So there's already trialling going on those elements of testing the best kind of mudcrete to hold the coast edge or to do the in-ground wall, testing modules that can go into the coast that are going to have marine colonisation of species and planting of seaweeds, and give us some hope that an ecology will build up. And I think the big one on this one is the coastal resilience issue. We're doing a bit of retreat and a bit of robustness, and so it's laying back that approach like Te Aratukutuku, like a waka ramp. It's going to be a flatter coast, and it's going to have a much longer coastline of Awhiowhio, the coves, and all the little spaces along that coast, tripling in length the marine interface of this headland, and creating a whole lot of little micro climates and habitats for that coastal interface to be there and restored. And so in terms of terrestrial as well, the fresh water, we've got to use all the water that lands there. We don't want to bring water care pipeline water to the site to irrigate trees. We want to do the best as we can in capturing and reusing all the water on site, potentially with local sources in the city. A city is a water supply catchment. So all of those things have sort of been woven in as concepts, and there's plenty of detail to come as they are designed, but I think it's about the intent there. And I think the last point being that it's a piece of infrastructure that's about the community and about the connection to place. And so for me, I'm from Great Barrier. I can go out there and plug into the power of Te Waitemata in the Hauraki Gulf, but a lot of people living here, there's just not that green space. There's just not that public way to engage and get down into the connect with nature, and that has a whole lot of flow-on effects, obviously, for our community and sustainability and our ethic towards the land. So for me, it's even the activations now are showing this can be a living classroom where people can be exposed to those innovations and be exposed to a different way of doing things regeneratively. Yeah.
Beautiful e hoa. Again, just because you acknowledged Jared, Dr. Jared Walker, Tātaki Limited, not Tātaki Auckland, Charmaine, Uru Whakaro, are all mana whenua mandated technical specialists. So we're really fortunate that Eke Pānuku have provided the space for mana whenua to have their own mandated specialists to support the work on this really important mahi. Kia ora. Charmaine, how does this approach influence, complement and celebrate the Waira Te Waitemata restoration?
Kia ora. it couldn't be done without the Wairua Waitemata. It is a piece in a giant puzzle of healing that needs to be done. It can be a shining light, it can be a beacon, it can bring people in, but it's people that are already doing a whole lot, like those in the front row, I might just add, and those that are standing at the back without a chair. I pointed out before, there's so many people here that are already doing this mahi all over Te Waitemata. We are calling for a space where we can come together collaboratively, collectively, and share the knowledge and learnings and do it together. This is not a competitive space. It would never work. That's why it's regenerative in that sense. So, we're looking too. We are the signatures in those ecologies as well with the Puhutakawa and all of those associated families. Who are those that are working in restoring those spaces around the Waitemata, and what knowledge do they have, and how do we connect the people that are doing with the people they want to be doing, and to do it here and to do it well. And we had a little tiny taster of that the other weekend, where if you put nursery people together, they all want to just chat plants. And it was really beautiful. We had the nursery people from Kaipatiki project over in Birkdale, who is in the home of a 74-hectare kiriru forest that flows into the Waitemata. We had those from Takaronga Hauraki come and be over the potting tables and share their stories. And they bought trays of rare and specialist plants that we traded. And we traded those with the seeds of the tarairi from one pa site that went home with the Pōriwa Ngāti Whātua nursery staff to grow on and to share back later. And it couldn't have been more Māori enhancing. It was so warming. And so if we had just called the space to do the, and again a non-negotiable for the framework is to say we want a nursery there, start and collect the seeds from the wider Waitemata and bring them there to start and heal and grow from there. But that's actually only possible with knowledge, and that knowledge is rare. And so we had to put the call out, and they came and they chatted plants, and it was just the beautiful beginning. So this site, and understand what Henry is saying too. It's hard to sometimes see where the line is. There's no line, Henry. The line is as far as we can draw the people in that sense, in terms of the people and the ecology. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Shah, thanks for that. I'm going to hand the next question over to you, Martin. How will Te Ara Tukutuku strengthen our community and bring people back to the space?
There's a saying that if you look after Mother Earth will look after you. And that's exactly what we intend to do. We all know that it takes a whole lot of care and love to make things happen in spaces that require that. And Te Ara Tukutuku, as a follow-up to the kōrero, how will that help us all? Well, here's how it will help us all. Is that when Te Ara Tukutuku is healing, so are the people who are in that space. They're being healed as well. And an example of that was just as Shah described. The people who were contributing to the healing of the space were also being healed by giving to that space. And so it's a sort of like a complementary thing that you give, you'll receive. And so by giving back to the moana, by giving back to the whenua, by giving back to Te Ara Tukutuku, you receive the sorts of things that nature brings with it for us. And I think that is, I mean, while it might be quite aspirational, it's doable if we give back the tools to nature to make nature provide the tools for the space. No
Kia
reira,
ora.
kia kāra, ki te hoi.
Ai, that's the one, ki te
Nā
hoi.
hoi.
It's like when you win gold, eh? Ki te hoi. So, that's our last question, and then we'll get into the exciting Q&A. Fiona, can you tell us a bit about what we might see happening and how people can get involved?
Kia ora, I can indeed. So you're involved by being here today. Thank you for coming. We've had throughout August, we've kind of launched this work, and it's gone far and wide. So we're asking for people to engage back with us to provide feedback to us. Is that all right? Yeah, you're nodding. Hang on, I can't read that. I haven't got my glasses on. Through the website, through Facebook, through all the socials. We've had 2 wonderful days on site. Last weekend, if anyone could come down, we had the big backyard, which was a magnificent day. Huge amount of diversity of people and engaging with the team down on site. And we're always going to, and because this project is going to take so long, we are always in the process of engagement. So as Shah mentioned, we're looking to set up a project hub as part of the first phase of our enabling work. So it'll be a place that you can physically come down to and engage with the team. You'll see the seeds that have been sorted and planted. You'll be able to engage that way. And always like to, Martin always reminds us that people can engage when they understand the why, and we're hopeful that through this kōrero today you can understand the why around the project, and that brings you, your kids, your family, your whānau, your visitors down to the site as well to keep engaging with the project as it evolves. Did you want to add anything else to that? But no? Just me? Good. Anybody else? I think, that's kind of the key message. So still, like I mentioned, heaps of work done, but still lots to do.
Awesome. And just a plug for our fabulous comms and engagement team, led by Natalie Donze from Stellar Projects, and a lot of the work that Fiona has talked about. They've been in the driving seat. They push and prod us, and we get along to support all these fabulous events. So tomorrow at Te Komititanga, we have a pop-up there. Anybody you might want to send along that's not here tonight, do that. Next Thursday, the team will also be up at Freiburg Square. Go on the website and find out the times. I think it's lunchtime, but don't trust me. Thursday, the 29th of August, the team will be at Central Library, so that's another opportunity to engage with the project. So we're going to now flip into our Q&A session. So don't forget, slido.com, #waterfront. To ask your questions. Right, technology is not my friend, so we'll see how we go. Okay, 25 votes. And I think this might be for my mate Caleb. Could you expand on how sea level rise and climate change will impact the restoration, and any mitigation/adaptation strategies considered within this project? That's a very flash question. Mainga.
Kia ora. Yeah. So look, I think in terms of the level of the city around these parts, it's around 4 metres above sea level, or above mean sea level, and this landscape's going to get built up. So the plan is to use. Hopefully, talking to our friends from Ports of Auckland, they'll have some material, but building up a landscape that's elevated and creates a whole range of microclimates and a terrestrial ecology that's going to get irrigated and carefully hold perched aquifers, so that it's got these different spaces of different microclimates in it, and then a coastal kind of ring that's all going to be laid back. And so as sea level goes up, it's going to have a much more complex face to interact with, and you'll be able to see in some of these images that are scrolling through, that creates a series of bays where mudcrete reefs and rock reefs will break up all the energy of the sea as it comes up. And as sea level goes up, there will be a freshwater interface that'll be drawn into the park. There'll be resilience in terms of the ecologies being transitioned on a gradient back to the terrestrial. And yeah, there's probably potential for this to become an island if things are worse than we expected. But that heat island effect, the creation of those microclimates, and the coastal resilience are all a big part of the approach.
Awesome, thank you for that. Our next question, and I think it might go to Fiona. Just also a reminder that they don't actually have to answer your question. No. Just a precursor to the question I'm going to ask Fiona. How can it be ensured that progress made towards regeneration and depollution will not be derailed by a future Auckland Council? Woo!
Very good question. What would I say to that? I would say that the process that we're talking about here, the regenerative process, will give us momentum by having the engagement that we've got with you and with others. We'll keep that momentum going. So building up our momentum, building up the success, building up the buy-in will help the project keep going. I think the other thing that will keep it going is that we're literally starting to dig next February, so we will be on site, we'll be physically there, we'll be on our journey. So I don't think I can say it enough, and Martin says it too, that we really need your help and support to share our work, to engage with our work, so that basically we're a rolling non-stop machine that can't be stopped. I think that's politically okay to say.
We'll find out in the newspapers tomorrow. Awesome. I'm going to throw a couple of questions up because they're pretty much the same. Will the new buildings development follow the principles as Te Ara Tukutuku? Are developers part of the partnership? The concept also includes buildings, real estate, not just a park. A space, we're talking about it being a space, not a park. This is hardly mentioned. Who is responsible / owns it? When can we learn more and be included?
Excellent question. You're right. The Te Ara Tukutuku is although we're focusing in on the public realm first and we're focusing in on the park as our first deliverable, it very much is the built form alongside the public open space. And the reason I guess we're focusing on the public open space first is that we made a deliberate decision to provide for the public realm first, the bones of Wynyard, through the Toi Waihanga kind of creative, to set that kind of, I guess, the physical kind of structure of the park as well. The development will come much later. We've had lots of conversations around what that development is. What we do have now is kind of building forms. We have kind of binary things like GFA and building heights, but that will come much later in the process. And the reason why really is that There's still a lot of development still to happen in Wynyard, so that's also just the reality of kind of what's happening in terms of what's still to finish before we bring on anything as part of our Te Ara Tukutuku work. We are thinking about what those buildings do and how they relate to public space, and Henry might want to elaborate on that, but yeah, you're right, it's very good to point out that the project is about, and our mahi is about built form as well as public open space.
Yeah, I might just add a couple of things to that. I think, thinking about public realm outcomes first, I think is
Get the mic, bro.
Yeah. It's it's pretty. I think it's really important we get the public realm outcomes for this project that we want first. And it's not to say we're not thinking about the built form, but we've got some thoughts, as Fiona said. And I think thinking about the public realm first also means we can put the infrastructure in and the enabling infrastructure and supporting infrastructure to get the right built form outcomes and have the integrated systems between the park and the buildings when we get to the buildings.
Mm.
And we're having thoughts about what sort of activities and uses that we want to have here that support what we want this place to be.
Nice, having thoughts. Thank you, Cecile, for your question. Everybody else was anonymous. The site today feels very isolated and intimidating. What considerations have been made for safety, crime prevention and activation, particularly at night? Who's jumping on that one?
I can take this one if you. I mean, it's pretty tough out there. That is true. But I think part of our strategy is to get some early activation on the site, and getting a project hub down there and a nursery, and having people down there doing things, and thinking about how the project evolves over time will enable us to address some of those issues. And maybe that we're not letting people go everywhere. Initially, we will be developing the project in a series of phases over time, and I think in terms of we're thinking more about how and when we let people do certain things, so it won't just sort of open one day and be an island separated from North Wharf. We'll be thinking about how we get people there and how we make sure people are safe when they're there, and what else you can do while you're there as well.
Awesome. Lots of voting going on and everything's jumping all over the place, and I'm going cross-eyed, but that's okay, we'll get there. Right. Caleb, would the stream in the space have any environmental service purpose, such as the one in the Botanic Gardens for stormwater? Is your gig, Bay?
Kia ora. Well, in terms of the direct stormwater catchment to it, there is the area to the north, which will be a restored ecology, will have some constructed elements. So the water that runs off the green space is being treated and flowing into the stream after polishing, and then the stream itself will certainly have microhabitats in it, and the goal is to make it permanent in terms of having parts of it that have permanent fresh water in it. And so the work's being done on the supply of that water, potential for storage tanks up in the top area that top up by solar, and potential for and the augmentation of that supply from off-site. In terms of the development precinct, there's an existing wetland there that will have more water go into it, but the concept to date is that there's reuse on the development lots for the purposes of reducing potable water demand, and then the public spaces will all have treatment. The road itself is going to have a central fall and a central swale, and so everything is supposed to be polished throughout the whole network. In terms of the wider catchment issues, there's a lot of work going on upstream. The main pipeline through here is underwater; it's below sea level, but there is potential to bring some of the the water from the catchment harvested down separately. So that's being looked into as well, in terms of if we need it from dry periods, having a greater water supply catchment for the park from the local valleys.
Very intimate. Thank you so much. Sounds like you're talking about your baby. So always the money question, right? An amazing project. Is funding in place? Will this be a hurdle for delivery?
We have funding. The way we get funding for our Eki Pānuku projects is through the long-term plan process. So you'll all be aware that the long-term plan was recently signed off this year in June by the council. We have the project in its entirety, we have calculated will be about a $320 million project over the course of 10 to 15 years. And as we have in this long-term plan round 119 million secured. So further long-term plan processes will need to ask council for allocation of money for this project, but certainly commitment through a good 100 million for the next out to 2034. So yeah, we've got money, we have a project, and we're getting stuck in. Kete hoi.
Kia ora. Thanks for your question, Dillies. You can check in with me later if I didn't pronounce that right. Has collaboration within the design process revealed any surprising or unexpected learnings? If so, how have these informed the concept? I'll just chuck it out to the floor.
Very good question.
Yes. I mean, I think, you know, we're, as was mentioned before, I think we're all on a journey, and I think you know, we've been learning a lot about each other and a lot about different ways of doing things. So, you know, I think it's certainly I think we've learnt things about how to do projects, and through this process of, you know, actually taking the time to sit down and think about how we do the project and who we're doing it with and how we do it and the ways that we, you know, the tikanga around how we operate as a team, and I think, you know, it's certainly that's been a journey for all of us over the last couple of years. I think it's you know, this just I think we're learning about lots of different ways of doing things. I think, you know, it's we've been through, I guess it should probably help to talk a little bit about what we have done over the last couple of years, because I think quite often you jump into these projects and you're going really quickly, and you know, so building on the mahi that was done before Toi Waihanga joined the project, we had a you know, discovery and interpretation phase of the project where we talked about all of those things, and we thought about what is the project trying to achieve against a range of different aspirations, cultural ones, functional ones, emotional ones, spatial ones. I can't remember them all now, you know, and develop that into a kind of a, you know, a reverse brief for this project that we all then agreed that is the sort of collective project brief, and then we developed that through a vision and framework phase. So we kind of explored and expanded on that reverse brief and tested that a little bit, and then building on that, we've now done a concept phase, and I think we were just talking about it in the studio actually today, that, you know, we haven't been and felt like we've been in such a good place on a project for a long time at the end of concept design, because I think you quite often rush through concept design and you haven't solved everything, and you still haven't talked to all the right people, and you haven't, not sure how you're going to do certain parts of a project. And I think, you know, we're all aligned here, and we're ready to kind of take the project forward collectively and together in the same direction.
I'd just like to add to that what helps us to get or keep on track are the questions that you have. And people have questioned the sorts of things that we're thinking about. And what it does, it makes the team sort of work really hard to ensure that what we are doing is going to be the best out for the space. And so I just would like people to continue to challenge and to question the sorts of things that we're doing so that we can ensure that what we do is going to have a positive outcome for the space. So, kia kaha.
Kia ora. Kia ora, thank you for that. The next question is around mātauranga Māori and Western knowledge, science. How did the group apply mātauranga Māori and Western knowledge, science, in their work together? How can we work from our own knowledge well and respectfully? Ai, ki te mic.
Kia ora. I think just for me as a Pākehā engineer and trained in systems engineering and systems thinking, it's still just an approach of how to eat an elephant, break it into its little chunks and work through each one and look at the numbers and you can go through that process again and again and you get to an outcome which is just not what you're after. And so for me this process of is building up a trust level. Like we've met this group of people who are very diverse with just diverse expertise and training and from people about activation and sociology and people who are engineers and things. They're bringing all of those things together and applying I guess building a trust relationship that everything's okay to ask those questions means that we get to the point of surprising each other on the answer that can come out. And so a lot of the times you think it's a no-brainer and then you go through all of the conversations and you realise actually we're thinking short-term here, we're focusing on risk and we need to look at that big picture again. So for me it's been amazingly generative in terms of that process. So for me, my tauranga feels more like a doing word than a thing like IP. It's a process, and there's an amazing amount of trust and I guess feels like inertia built up in the team from my perspective.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. There was another question that was pretty similar, and that was what have been your learnings so far in terms of working together, process, navigating connections between mātauranga and science?
I think building those two questions together, I just wanted to put out there that I've never worked on such a big team where you kind of think, what's everyone doing? And then actually everyone's just working so incredibly hard and they leave their egos at the door. And I think that's what allows you to work in different systems that come together as one, because it gets grounded back all the time by being mana whenua led. Is what's the kaupapa here? Let's stay on kaupapa. And so as he's saying, Martin, when we have the challenges that come at us, it's like, hold on, let's refocus. Is that on kaupapa? Is that going to get us to where what the aspiration is for this site? Is that going to help us heal it? So it's hugely about it. We've needed everybody that I've met in this process in the last couple of years to contribute in the way that they do and bring their experience, leave the ego at the door and stay on focus on kaupapa. And I think that's working in that way.
Awesome, thank you. Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
I think also we for the most part we want the same things. It's just we want the best outcomes for this place, and so it's not like we're trying to force two things together that don't go together. We just come at it from slightly different points of view, I guess, in context sometimes, and so but the outcomes that we want for the site, from a mana whenua point of view, are the outcomes we want from the site from an ecological point of view, and a landscape architectural point of view, and a public realm point of view, and a kind of city making point of view. But we've got sometimes the conversations we have to have are about why we're doing it and how we're doing it, and not necessarily the outcome. And I think that's been, I guess, a really interesting part of this kind of journey.
Kia ora, thank you.
I might just add.
Yep.
If I can just add that part of it's also being brave about taking our time, and there's always this balance between taking your time and showing progress. And I think kind of just picking up on Henry's point before, when you get to concept and you feel we're all feeling really comfortable, it's because we've taken our time to do it, and that actually ends up speeding up kind of other parts of maybe the regulatory process, for example, because we're not kind of in a combative kind of process, we're in a collaborative one, which gets you there. I think the thing that really resonates mostly is that when we talk about heal and when you talk about healing, intuitively as humans, you know that when you're healing, it takes a long time. So there's just parts of the messaging that's come out of our work through this kaupapa that really reflects, words and processes that remind you that we're all human too, and we're all kind of our regenerative approach helps us as humans and the environment as well, clearly. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Get te hoi.
So that's a beautiful segue into the next question. Good things take time. When do you think we will be able to walk the Pahutakawa walkway? Lovely question.
I have that. Well, if we get a bit more money faster, we can do it faster. We've been very conscious of that in terms of showing progress through our staging to be able to get access to site, to the place. We're also conscious that we don't want to open up something, encourage people to come and experience and then have to close it down again. That is not what we want to do. So we're carefully working through that at the moment in terms of our staging. I think probably where we will start to see some of the marine trials on the western side, we would like to be able to encourage people to come up and witness and have a look at that. I think, what are we now, 2024? I think by the time maybe 2031 or so, we'll be in a better place to have people actually physically access the place and start to see how it's forming. But it is along in terms of its the final part of cultivate. It's a good, I'd say 15 years till it's promised visual in a sense. So yeah, but like
Awesome.
I say, I'll get some more cash.
I'm doing the maths. How old am I going to be by then?
Yeah, me too. I'll be retired, I think.
How inspiring. Sorry. Told you it was just a bit of a conversation, eh? Anyway, here we go. What happens to the anchor building idea, also known as Auckland's version of the Sydney Opera House? Why was a regenerative approach preferred? I think we might have explored that quite extensively, right? Anybody want to add anything? Like, do they like the Sydney Opera House? No.
I mean, I think...
Anchor building, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I'll add a couple of things. I mean, it's been called the Headland Park on drawings for 20 years. And I know there's been various proposals for architectural statements out on the end, including some recent stadiums and things like that. But, I think the idea that landscape and our culture can be that hero on the headland is, the most important part of this project. And we will have other things to support the park, and there will be buildings in Whare Waka and other cultural and community, structures within the park. But we don't need a hero.
Te ara tukutuku's the hero, right? Kia ora, thank you. Right. Aside from decontamination and letting nature run its course, what, if any, interventions have been considered to accelerate the return of marine life? Channeling Dr. Jared Walker, channeling Dr. Jared Walker. Pass it down the line there.
Kia ora. Well, so there's been trials, there's been research, and there's obviously a whole industry of marine restoration that's operating, and some smart people out there, some in this room, who are testing these things. In terms of the trials in here, we've been trialling construction of rock pool modules that will bring a sense of Māori to them in terms of there's biomimicry in them, but also that will have the right habitats to have things grow on them, and then plan trials for the building blocks of the ecosystem, the brown seaweeds, and those sorts of things. And so obviously you've got to build the habitat and have those spaces, and then there's a long-term, obviously, goal that the harbour gets better, and so that's a wider role. But we can't do nothing and just leave a desert on the coast, waiting for the clean, shimmering waters to come back. It's all part of us all working together, and so there are things that are growing there now. And the area of those can be increased, and that's the approach, is just to build up the ecosystems from the ground up.
In great activations, right?
Yeah, and partnerships, and so already people like the marine lab from Lee are down on site and showing kids what healthy ecosystems look like, and showing kids what the degraded ecosystem looks like, and we can ask why and what do we want to be part of in terms of fixing it.
Cool. So, Fiona?
I'd just like to add a couple of things too, and I think, partnering with the boat owners in the West Haven and those, about the best way to clean and to sort of, the prevention as well. So we just need champions right across the Waitemata Harbour to Waitemata to support, by doing the right thing with their gear. And especially, we can start doing some of that stuff now rather than having to wait for the restoration parts to come in. Start working on boats and the foul that comes in, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we really need support from the wider community as well, the ones that use the Te Waitemata Harbour. Yeah, kia ora.
I'm just going to throw it out there. How will you measure your success in this place, in this space? Isn't that a Māori question there, Mark?
Mana Whenua have put together a framework to help us measure the Māori of the spaces as the project continues, and I think one of the we've got some measures in to show that the Māori is increasing. However, the signs that we will be looking for has the water quality increased? Are there more species in the water? Are things growing? And following the trials, by getting results of tests being done, and also, does it smell better? Does it look better? Does it feel better? And those are some of the qualities that we can measure just straight off. And a lot of the time, those are some of the measures that we could use to ensure, to assess whether or not the Māori is returning. We can definitely see when there is a storm and the storm water gets excessive, what happens out the front here. We also know there. So we're looking for our CCO partners to help us in that space. so that we don't get that into the... So looking out and seeing is just as good as... And in fact, you'll see and feel and touch things that will help you to assess the mauri. Likewise, the results of water testing, the things that are happening in the space, the animals that are returning, the seagulls and all those birds that are coming back onto the space, those are the sort of signs that the mauri is returning. So we continue to look for those positive signs. Nami.
Kia ora, thank you for that. And so to wind up this part of our wānanga, the last question is always a good one when it speaks to process. On behalf of people and communities all over Auckland, how did you get the permission, the mandate, to think about, or to think and approach the project this way?
Good question. Eki Panuku is the Auckland Council's regeneration authority or development agency, and we have through council agreed on which locations that we operate in. So in terms of mandate, we have through Auckland Council, through the letter of expectation and through our SOIs, that kind of mandate to operate in those spaces. So that's the kind of fundamental kind of nuts and bolts of that. I think as a regeneration agency, we've evolved over different iterations through Waterfront Auckland, through joining with ACPL, and we have the Eki Panuku that we see today. We're on a learning journey that's enabled by our board members, but also through our councillors who support us to do the mahi that we do. So that's the kind of, in essence, that kind of the job we're doing and the social licence that we have to continue on these projects the way that we do. I would say that our journey, the leadership from our ELT, the expertise that we have in-house, the expertise that we have with our placemaking team, with our Māori outcomes team, kind of builds us all up and our capability and capacity to actually come to the table to be able to work in a way with our mana whenua partners that is more deeper and richer than it has been before. So we're all on a journey. We're all developing how we work within the council whānau, how we work with mana whenua partners, and we test and tease that obviously through coming out and engaging with the public through our formal processes and also on site as well. So lots of different ways that we draw from and keep building on our work. So I hope that answers that question, but I'm happy to share that later. Yeah.
And I think the other part that mana whenua brought to the table was, what is the right thing to do? And I know that, and that put Eki Panuku in a different space. So by asking those sorts of questions, Eki Panuku understood that the right thing to do was to look at a regenerative approach in that space. Yeah. Kia ora.
Hello, kia ora, ka kite. Can I get my mic going, please? Thank you. Homai te paki. Thank you so much to our brave panellists. We, as the project working group, basically picked on these ones to get up here and to share the beautiful stories of the journey of the kaupapa. And as you can see, it has been a journey of passion, of collaboration, and of partnership. So in terms of, I picked up one of the questions, and I thought I'd just in terms of closing remarks, I'll kind of use that as something to respond to. How will the kaupapa of co-design and regenerative practice be applied in other parts of our community, particularly areas that aren't as high profile? So I've been hanging out with Waterfront Auckland, Pānuku, and then Eke Pānuku for a little while. I was involved with ATEED, now Tātaki Auckland Unlimited, as their Māori Engagement Manager for Rugby World Cup in 2011. That's the reason why I keep doing my maths around the timing and my age. Anyway, one of the things that I've appreciated, particularly working with Waterfront Auckland, the establishment of their placemaking, their fabulous placemaking team. Big shout out to all our kai whakaaua Hawaii, our placemaking specialists, and also to Simon and his team. The last time we got together on a panel session, I threw a question out to Simon, but I'm not going to do that to him tonight. In terms of projects that Eke Pānuku have done across the region, there's a couple that spring to mind, and that's Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhenui, the regeneration of the Puhenui. Transformation Manukau project was developed, and they came to mana whenua and they said, oh yeah, here's the scope. And we used to call it the t-shirt because it looked like a t-shirt. And this is the area that we're looking at regenerating. And mana whenua turned around and rightly so said, nah, we can't regenerate the Puhenui, not just in your t-shirt. It has to go from the source to the receiving environment, which is out to the Manukau Harbour. And go on the website, check it out. So that became a really important project where Eke Pānuku was able to cut its teeth on and work with mana whenua in this way. And the other project is Te Ara Awataha. Again, mana whenua came in later in the piece, had to shuffle a few seats on the waka, all the puns intended. And if it wasn't for mana whenua, ki te hoi, doing the haka, talking about, you know, the awataha doesn't want to be in a drain anymore. She wants to be able to breathe. She wants to be able to be the home of all those taonga species that past, I work for an engineering firm, engineers and others have felt that it was best to pipe these taonga. And so I always think about the fact that in order to daylight streams, we've got to daylight minds first. And this is the same thing. Regeneration is about that, is about opening our minds, thinking, you know, kitua, above and beyond, if you like. And so I just want to acknowledge all the team, the leadership, and again, going back to those words, passion and all those things, but also want to just acknowledge you guys for showing up. All those online that gave up their time to come and listen, to come and hear, to ask your questions, to seek answers, all those ones that came to our activations, that brought their kids, that walked away, and then you see the kids dragging them back, because some of them hadn't even touched a kina before. And so that was really beautiful to see our kids say, they guide us. People talk about them being our leaders of tomorrow. Nah, they're our leaders of today. Sometimes us adults just got to move over and hold their hand, because they drag us along sometimes. So, don't get off the kaupapa, eh? Coming back, ki te hoi. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we're so passionate about. And it's not just this project. It's Tāmaki Makaurau, Tāmaki of many lovers. Now there's 1.7 million of the buggers. That's us. Hey, that's us together. Nō reira, e raurangatira mā, e mihana ki a tātou, kua hui tahi nei, ki te whakawhiriwhiri i enei ngā kōrero. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa. Again, round of applause for everybody in the house. So, if I could invite my dear friend, Councillor Angela Dalton, to provide the vote of thanks and the real closing remarks. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Lucy. I thought you were taking my job for me for a minute there. Ngā mihi o te ahihahi, everybody. Ko Angela Dalton tēnei, Councillor for the Maniraba Papakura Ward and Lead Councillor for Ihi Panuku. What an amazing project, my favourite project actually, and some tense times as we went through the long-term plan, wondering how it might survive, and it did. Not as much as we'd like it to in terms of money, but we're going to work on that. And that's a segue for me just to acknowledge a senior councillor, not in age, but in term on council, Councillor Richard Hills, who is one of the biggest supporters of this project and chair of the Planning, Environment and Parks Committee. We heard a lot tonight, amazing stuff, but some key messages, some key words actually that came out a lot. Journey, the journey that we are on, where that journey started back in 2005 and the milestones along the way and the people that have been involved. And the heal and healing. I think Fiona made a really nice point when she summed it up: as we heal, as our land heals, as our whenua heals, as te ara tukutuku, the binding of the land and the seas heal, so will the people, so will we all. And that's really powerful and tells us how important it is to have our kaupapa of te ao Māori lens, mana whenua led, is so important to these projects that we have, that we're working together. We must teach our rangatahi everything about it to keep it alive, to take this story forward, to keep the journey going long after we have gone. My job here is to thank the panel. I think that there's a lot of experts in the room from what I hear, so I do want to thank those in the front row, those in the back row, and everybody in between, and everybody online who are either contributing, collaborating, just want this project to happen and understand the journey that we're on. I'd like to thank our panel and for everything that you're putting into this. This project will survive. One way of ensuring this project is to survive is to be wise with your vote in the next election, Councillor Hills. Well, appreciate that, as would I for him. I'm not intending to stand, but I certainly want to make sure that I see this. We're wondering how old we're going to be, Lucy, by the time it's finished, but I think we'll get to see some good stuff happening. So, look, thank you to our panellists, Caleb, Charmaine, Martin, Simone, Henry. Lots of wisdom there. Thank you for your experience. I learnt a lot from you tonight. And Fiona, thank you for everything you do for Iki Paneku, and our amazing MC, Lucy. Lucy works so hard. When I was on the local board out in Manurewa, we started a mana whenua-led kaupapa, and it was great back then. It's not, and we looked forward to that continuing. And like everything, it's cyclical sometimes, depending on elections. But thank you, Lucy, for everything that you do and how much I've learnt from you. So for tonight, thank you all for coming. And I wish you safe travels home, however you're going to get home. And I would like to welcome Eddie back to give us our closing karakia. And also I'd like to just thank Mervyn for our opening mihi mihi. So Eddie, could you come and give us a closing karakia?
E tū everybody, we're going to sing her a song, and it's an easy repeat after me. And then we'll get Eddie to... Eddie, you can come up now. E toru ngā mea, ngā mea nunui, e ki ana, te pai pera, te manako, whakapono, ko te mea nui, ko te aroha, ki te hoi. Eddie?
Nuhia, ki tūri tapanui, ki au wātea, ki au māma. Te ngākau, te tinana, te hinangaro, te wairua, ki te ara takatū. Ko ia ra e rongo whakairia kei runga ki a tīna. Haumi e hui e.
Tai kia.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. And ki te hoi. Your call to action tonight, your call to action is to make sure that you do submit on the consultation that is open until the end of the month, and tell all of your friends and whānau about it. Kia ora everyone. Tēnā koutou katoa.